to decide whether or not a person is beautiful. And that learning that the brain puts together to assess whether or not a person is beautiful, what we will see here in a minute in this masterclass, can go very wrong. Last week, week 21 of our NHS NeuroHyperSensitivity workbook, chapter 21, and NHS Practical Neuroscience Masterclass, we have covered I am attractive. What attractiveness means in the brain in terms of neuroscience. What signals are you giving out to the open, and how others perceive that, and the relationship between the two, and the nervous system state behind this presence, the bonds that you're giving out and the ones that people perceive from you, whether or not you're aware of it. We covered that in much detail. Please watch that video as well right after this one so you can see the difference. This week is different. This week, week 22 of our NHS Practical Neuroscience from our NHS NeuroHyperSensitivity workbook, we are covering what I am beautiful means. The beauty really means in the brain in terms of neuroscience. More specifically, the relationship between you and how you perceive your beauty. And for most people, this relationship is broken, not because they are not beautiful, but because how the brain was trained to perceive the way they see themselves. In this masterclass, we are covering why that is, why that relationship is broken, and what neuroscience says that we can do to completely reverse it. Welcome back to my channel. Step inside the lab, leave the labels behind. Discover the biology of a neurosensitive brain. From the genes to environments, the science is key. Welcome to the truth of NeuroHyperSensitivity, NHS, with Dr. Ayguen Sahin. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Dr. Ayguen Sahin. Yes, a real scientist of 26 years. I'm a geneticist. I'm a cancer scientist, more particularly a brain cancer researcher and a cancer immunotherapy specialist. So I know a lot about genetics, brain, and immunology. So welcome here. We are covering our NHS NeuroHyperSensitivity master classes. And if you haven't already subscribed, never miss any of my master classes. And we are also covering later in the video the audit that is going along for this week's assignment. So the audits are always available in my store, so the links are always in my bio. Okay, so first we are covering why beauty and attractiveness are not the same thing in terms of neuroscience. I want to start here because this is important. The brain regions that are involved in attractiveness and in beauty are separate, different regions. And this is why we are covering this in two separate master classes. So in the attractiveness, it's the region that sends out signals, and the receiver, the person perceives you to be attractive, has a different brain region being activated. In beauty, those regions are different. So like in the attractiveness, there was a gigantic meta-analysis study, but here we have another big meta-analysis study of 49 studies, brain imaging studies, and the results that they found after the meta-analysis of the 49 brain imaging studies, they found something very interesting. The beauty of faces activates the left ventral striatum. That's different because that left ventral striatum is the center for motivation and reward. Again, this region is a center for reward and motivation. Completely different. But the general perception of the beauty in terms of art, in terms of nature or something that motivates you, those activation is the anterior medial prefrontal cortex. Again, a completely different region. So the faces of beauty activates a different region, which I just said, motivation and reward center, And the other types of beauty, more broad, generalized beauty, more broad beauty, is activating a completely different region. And what is interesting is that the medial orbital frontal cortex is only activated when a face is being perceived as truly beautiful. Let that sink in. Remember that orbital frontal cortex is the region that in the attractiveness from the outside, what's activated when a person perceives someone as being attractive or not. This is here in the beauty by the other person only activated when a face is truly beautiful. So there's a tiny bit, again, like in attractiveness, of the integrated part on the other person, how they perceive beautiful face. Again, beauties are here in the brain in different regions in terms of what beauty is, completely different in terms of the regions. And why is it that important that the medial orbital frontal cortex is activated when the face is truly beautiful, not just attractive, but beautiful? Because beauty is not just a sensory judgment like attractiveness. It involves personality, character, the aura. Those are involved in a person's perception because it's not just a sensory judgment. Other parts are involved in that judgment of the perception of beauty. That is what the brain learns in terms of beauty. And that learning, again, it's not a perception like attractiveness, it's a learning because the brain puts other parts of the character of the personality into it to decide whether or not a person is beautiful. And that learning that the brain puts together to assess whether or not a person is beautiful, what we will see here in a minute in this masterclass, can go very wrong. And now let's discover what our brain has been trained to see and how everything can go wrong from here onward. And here is what the truth is. The truth is how the brain, as I just said, to perceive someone as beautiful is not like the attractiveness, just the perception, a sensory judgment, is how the brain was trained to see. And here is a brand new study, literally from 2025, from a neuroscientist, Laura Piggott, from London South Bank University, did an interesting study, found that when people are in this day and age, this is like crazy to really involve the new social media. She and her group found that when people look more and more and more and more into these filtered images on social media to be seen as a standard beauty, what also the beauty industry want us to see, our brain, so she found in research, literally found that our brain's perception of beauty narrows down, and in a very narrow way of looking at what beauty really is. This is literally the science that her group found. I mean, it's kind of like a duh. I mean, if you think about from the scientific perspective, it's kind of like a duh, but literally this is what they found scientifically in the brain, what is happening, that the perception of the beauty is narrowing down in like a tunnel version, very, very filtered. And this is literally how you train the brain into this is the standard of beauty. Right? The beauty industry is literally want us to perceive beauty that way. And here's what's important, this is not because that is real, that beauty is real, it's because it reinforces the neural reflex. And here is why this is so critical for all of us, because that narrow thinking of the brain that Now the new circuits has been developed in that narrow-minded view of beauty. The brain circuits are that now filtered and narrowed. This means that every time we look into the mirror, those circuits will be activated, and that will be set as a standard in our brain. And this is what the danger is, because the remember we talked about consistent activation of that circuit is literally where the brain heads. And so when we consistently activate that circuit, that's exactly when there is no motivation to change it, because it becomes a standard. Let that sink in. Because what happens then when there's no motivation to change, because when it comes to the standard, then, my friend, guess what happens? Then our brain turns the result into what? Shame. Now then, very dangerous. Now let's discuss what shame does in the brain. And let me tell you, shame is not an emotion. Shame is a neurological state. Very, very important to understand. Because why? Research on self-conscious emotions over and over again found that shame activates what? The threat system. It fires the amygdala. We talked about this a million times, right? The activation of amygdala, what consequences it has. That threat system, like boom, 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 the amygdala will be activated. The HPA axis, we also talked about that. And the cortisol levels will be elevated. Those are the consequences, severe consequences of what shame can do to our body. Because what happens then, if your brain already is in a shame mode, when you look at the mirror, and that's exactly what the practical neuroscience is coming in, when you look into the mirror, what you only will see is what the threat system is telling you, your brain, what the threat is. And it starts to fire up every time you look into the mirror, because your brain circuit is now already been trained into the shame mode. And what happens then is your threat system confirms, right? The prefrontal cortex confirms what I'm seeing here is true. It's the confirmation that sets it into motion and set it into stone. Yes, this is what I'm seeing, and yes, the shame confirms that's what I'm seeing. Yep, indeed, it's true. Okay, that confirmation is what we need to break. And that confirmation cycle is where most people are stuck in. And this almost has nothing to do with how they actually look. It's because the brain circuit, and then the shame activates the amygdala, the threat system, and then the brain, that shame, that amygdala, the threat system, activates that confirmation. Yep, what I'm seeing is true. Now then, let's learn the science, how we can change that perception. And here's what it is. The science is absolutely clear on this. The perception of beauty is absolutely changeable. It absolutely has nothing to do that to be set in stone. I mean, hence why that beauty industry and the social media industry want us to change our brain. They know I'm telling you, these PR companies, marketing, these industries, they know everything about neuroscience. Only you don't know that. That's why they can manipulate you. But they know everything about neuroscience. And here's exactly why I'm teaching this to you, so that you cannot be manipulated. Okay, this is also another reason why I'm teaching you this. Don't be manipulated, because everything goes through the brain. So instead, these idealized images, to constantly look at them, we can also do the other way around. We can look at other beauty standards that we think is, oh, this is beautiful too. And this way we can broaden, not narrow down, but broaden our perception in the perception of beauty. The point here is to widen the perception of beauty, not narrowing it down. That can be also trained. And we talked a lot about the research from Christine Neff from University of Texas, and the way we talk about ourselves. And she literally over and over again showed in her research that the way we talk to ourselves in terms of appearances activates a completely different neural circuit than self-criticism does. So the way we talk to ourselves about appearance has a different neural circuit, activates a different neural circuit than the self-criticism. Very, very important that she showed this over and over again in her research. Because here's the difference. The self-criticism activates the threat system. We just said that, right? The self-criticism constantly activates the amygdala, the threat system, and then we know the consequences, right? The cortisol level, the stress levels, and inflammation, everything in between will go in that direction. But self-compassion activates the brain's soothing system. Oxytocin will be expressed. The parasympathetic nervous system that calms down the vagus nerve, the amygdala, is being activated, but also the prefrontal cortex is getting involved. The logic, the making sense of everything gets involved. And from that state, the brain finally has a broader perception, because also involve the prefrontal cortex, the logic becomes more activated. And then, as we just said, the point is to broaden the perception, and that can finally happen. Because the prefrontal cortex is involved, then the accuracy will be also involved. The accuracy of perception, not just the made up image, but the accuracy and the generosity will be also there, because the prefrontal cortex will be involved, because our vagus nerve is calmed down, the amygdala is calmed down, because the parasympathetic nervous system is also activated. So do you see now the difference? Like, this is literally physiological activation of all levels, like from top to bottom. The entire brain, entire body is literally being regulated from the brain in two states, right? I just taught you what the consequences of each are in the body physiologically. So this is so important to understand. And if you liked it so far, hit the like button and share this video with your friends and family. Now let's keep going. What can you now do this week in order to change that perception if you are the one, like most of people, when they look into the mirror and cannot see what you see and what you perceive is the same. And if you are one of those people almost heading towards shame, and again, if the relationship is what you see and what you perceive is not matching, then here is what you can do this week. We are getting to the audit. The audit, you will track for 1 week the perception, so that when you work one-on-one with me, I will take that information, that raw data, and work with you with a personalized protocol so that I understand where your baseline is and we can work from there. Okay, so I need that data, I need that information. So what you can do this week, there are 3 things you can do. First is the audit. The audit. What is audit? What you're feeding your brain with. This is so important. This is also similar to what audit. My audit has a little bit, the beauty perception audit has a bit more sections. So generally speaking, you will need to audit what you are feeding your brain with. Is it your Instagram filtered models or the beauty faces with tons of filters, or you broaden the view of understanding of beauty, right? Do you look at Mediterranean or Middle Eastern people, or Asian people, or I don't know, Nordic people? Like, do you have a broader understanding? And also, are they all filtered or not filtered, right? This day and age, it's hard to tell, but I have a deep fake video that I show you how you can understand the AI generated deep fake, like totally naturally looking people that are now among us, with my brand new responsible AI and data security channel. YouTube channel is brand new, so I put that link below, and you can subscribe there if you're interested in how you can protect yourself in this day and age of AI, and how you can safely provide your data without harm that will come back and bite you. So very, very important. I really, really hope that you will subscribe there. Okay, so it's called Responsible AI with Dr. Ayguen Sahin. So now the second thing is, what you need to do is interrupt that shame. So you need to interrupt that shame loop in the mirror when you look into the mirror. And what you need to tell yourself is, what I'm looking at, this is the threat system. If you find yourself shaming yourself, you will say to yourself, this is my threat system doing. This is not me. This is not what the reality is. This is my brain literally firing up my shame system, my threat system. So that's not the reality. Again, I keep saying it, bring it to your prefrontal cortex, the logic, okay? Because the moment you say it, the moment you engage the logic, boom, your prefrontal cortex gets activated, and that's what we want. That's how you can get out of the amygdala, the threat system activation. We talked about this gazillion times in my master classes, okay? And if you still don't know where the week 1, the very first I am safe, the threat system, the amygdala masterclass is homed. All my masterclasses are homed on my website at the NHS Practical Neuroscience, NHS Neuroplasticity program, draygwensahin.com/courses, and the link is also in my bio. So go and apply, and once you apply, you get all 52 masterclasses, including all audits and all protocols. So absolutely important. And also extra to that, you will have my 52-week worth of the journaling, workbook journaling together, guided journaling, relaxed, and also my 52-week of intuitive insights. Okay, very, very important. So I have 3 times 52 videos there, all audits, all protocols. It's currently in the founder sale, so highly encourage you to hop over, apply, and get in. First, I want you to also take the 5-question NHS quiz to see if you are qualified also to join our NHS membership, community membership. So very important. All the links are in my bio, okay? So now, the third is practice. Practice what's true and not what's activating the threat system. What is the reality? We just activated our prefrontal cortex, putting in the logic. Now train that. Train that the truth, what the truth is, not what the perception that activates the threat system, okay? And with that, you need to look at what is genuinely there. What is the truth? Like, do you like your hair? Do you like your, I don't know, I love how my hair looks. I love my little hair accessories that I made, and I love them. I love how it looks. I love how my hair has grown, and I love the style. I love how I cut it. And just focus on what's there actually, and so that you can tell your brain, I love that about me. And let me tell you again, over and over again, there is no one other person than you in this world. full stop, like full stop. There is no comma or anything like that. It's a full break, full stop. There is no other person in this world than you. There is no another Ayguen that has this type of hair. My hair color, my hair structure, the color itself, I have actually, when you look in the sun, they turn into reddish brown and there are wands in it. These are all my natural hair. I don't know, my eyebrows, my eyes, my nose, everything, my mouth, it's just me. And as I keep saying, I told you in the beginning, your character, your personality, that is what also people see as beauty, because they put the region that put these things combined together to perceive someone as beauty, as I mentioned in the beginning. So those regions are activated in the other person's brain anyway. So what's your problem then, right? Because the other people, because as I said in the very beginning, attractiveness is different. It's just the perception right away, but the beauty is different, and how other people perceive beauty is also different. And that's why you need to, number one, anyway, focus on yourself, what you perceive as beauty. Start from there. Other people might perceive your beauty completely different. Many people maybe don't even look at your hair and you're like, oh my god, my hair is so beautiful, and other people don't even look at your hair. They're like, oh my god, the character, the these and that. Yeah, so you don't know, and so then don't focus on that, okay? So it is as simple as that. You can train it and absolutely do, okay? And then this brings me to our this week's audit, and this is the beauty perception audit. And I want you to download that, and there's a section in that you will check every single day, Monday through Sunday, 1 week. And again, I need those raw data when I work one-on-one with you. The link is in my bio, and so download it and start working on it to see what is your beauty perception about you, and how can we change that, how you can change that. I give you the 3 steps. Start working on it, and please let me know in the comments. I absolutely would love to hear from you. What is your beauty perception about yourself? And tell me what you will do today to get started to change that. I want to know, okay? So this will close our 2 bundle, attractiveness and beauty, and the next 3 weeks we are working on a separate bundle, and that is I am brave, I'm courageous, and I'm confident. Whoa, that bundle is coming up, so stay tuned, get excited. We are covering week 23, 24, 25. I'm brave, I'm courageous, and I am confident. Wow. So, but I'm telling you this, as I keep saying after every single masterclass, there's nothing you can do without what? Health. Mental, physical, and emotional health. And that's why I keep saying it. You need to download and get the health regulation audit, where we check 3 key elements of your health: your sleep habits, your movement habits, but also your inflammation status, whether or not there's inflammation. So I need that data. When you work one-on-one with me, depends on what week audit we are talking about, what problem we are solving. I need, addition to that, your health regulation audit, so that I can see where your health is at the moment. Are you in inflammation state? We need to first address that. Why? Maybe you are sleeping crazy hours, or you're not even sleeping at all, or something is make you awake constantly. Are you not moving? Are you not going out in fresh air? We need to address those first. So health regulation audit is key in all my masterclasses everything about neuroscience, so I need that information too. I need you to take your mental, physical, emotional health seriously, and we will look into that. You look into that. This is absolutely gold mine that you absolutely need. I'm so stunned, obviously, that none of the medical physicians, like medical doctors, the healthcare system even asks for that. To my program, the Scientist Total Health Transformation Program that I founded, is absolutely critical and key, because this is how I saved my own life. With that being said, I hope you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Never miss any of my master classes, and also always follow the post section. I always communicate there with you. Write me in the comments. Love to hear from you. Don't forget to take the 5-question NHS quiz to see if you qualify for our NHS NeuroHyperSensitivity community membership. I will see you in the next 3 masterclasses bundle. Wow, amazing coming up. Take care.